NCAC sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of The Rundown. On this week's show, we'll feature a 6-game winning streak by the Oberlin men's soccer team, highlight an impressive performance on the volleyball court from Denison's Leah Reinfranck, and finally, showcase a pair of top 10 performances in men's golf from Wittenberg's Sam Stilwell. After opening the season by splitting a pair of matches against OAC squads, the Oberlin men's soccer team has now strung together 6 straight wins dating back to a 4-0 victory over Geneva on September the 9th. The Yeomen extended their winning streak last week thanks in part to a pair of last-minute goals off the foot of senior midfielder Nick Wertman. After netting the game winner in the 88th minute of the Yeomen's 4-3 victory over Baldwin Wallace on September 21st, Wertman netted arguably the most important goal of the season for Oberlin just 2 days later. With the score tied at 1-1 against DePaul in the 87th minute, Wertman took this pass from sophomore Brian James and fired it past the DePaul goalie to give the Yeomen a 2-1 victory over the Tigers in the NCAC opener for both squads. While several NCAC men's soccer teams return to non-conference action over the next 3 days, league matches will resume on Saturday, highlighted by DePaul hosting Kenyon at 2:30 p.m. in Greencastle. We'll now shift our attention indoors, where the Denison Big Red Volleyball squad concluded its season-opening 15-match road swing with a pair of 3-2 victories last week. With the Big Red trailing Heidelberg 2-1 after 3 sets, DU turned the pages in the match with a 25-23 victory in the 4th set and a convincing 15-5 triumph in the decisive 5th set to lift them to the non-conference victory. The Big Red then opened NCAC play on Saturday by making the short trip to Kenyon, where they edged out the ladies in another tight match, thanks in part to a record-setting performance from Leah Reinfranck. The junior middle hitter from Northbrook, Illinois, erupted for a career-high 24 kills in the win over the ladies, which included slamming the door on the match with these 4 straight kills that lifted the Big Red to a 15-12 victory in the 5th and final set. Reinfranck, who was named the NCAC Volleyball Player of the Week for her efforts, finished the week with 37 kills and just 5 hitting errors in 65 total attempts for an eye-popping .492 hitting percentage. League play continues across the NCAC this week with 8 total volleyball matches on the schedule, highlighted by Denison hosting Wittenberg on Thursday night at 7 p.m. and Hiram traveling to Kenyon for a 1 p.m. start on Saturday. Finally, we wrap up this week's show on the links, where Wittenberg senior Sam Stilwell posted a pair of top 10 finishes last week at 2 of the nation's premier Division III events. The Tigers opened the week by wrapping up competition at the NCAA Division III Championship Preview at the Mission Inn Resort in Howey in the Hills, Florida, where Stilwell finished in a tie for 6th in the individual standings with a 54-hole score of 219 that included a 1-under-par 71 in the opening round. Stillwell then secured the NCAC Men's Golfer of the Week award over the weekend by finishing in a tie for 5th at OWU's Gordon Classic with a 3-round total of 213. The Sterling, Virginia native held a 2-stroke lead following the opening round after carding a tournament-low 5-under-par 66, which included acing the 176-yard par 3 18th hole at the Delaware Golf Club. And NCAC men's golf teams return to the course this week with 4 events on the schedule, led by Kenyon traveling to Abbottstown, Pennsylvania for McDaniel's Mason-Dixon Collegiate Classic. And as always, NCAC sports fans, for up-to-date news, stats, and standings from around the North Coast Athletic Conference, you can visit our website at www.northcoast.org. Also be sure to follow us on Twitter at NCAC, as well as like us on Facebook. Well, that puts a wrap on this week's show. But be sure to join us again next week for another edition of The Rundown.